Good morning and welcome to In the Pocket. This is a home edition. As you can see, I'm not in my studio today. I am at home and we're going to be going over the UFC Pittsburgh fight card. We'll be joined a little bit later on, hopefully, by Will Sewell if our Skype connection works. If not, it'll just be me. Enjoying a cup of coffee to begin the morning off. So let's get straight into it. First things first, Rockhold won, which, I mean, if you weren't expecting Rockhold to win, I think David Branch was biting off a little bit more than he could chew. I'm not to say he couldn't do it. I really wanted to see him do it, but that's mainly because I don't like Luke Rockhold. But yeah, it was done in dominant fashion, to be fair. The first round, Branch came out swinging, and he actually clipped Luke by the looks of things with like a barrage, like a 3-4 fight combination, 3-4 punch combination up against the cage that was catching him on the chin. And considering Luke's last fight, he got put out with one clean shot to the chin. I'm presuming Branch thought he could put him away early. That's why he exploded so hard, and he didn't. Luke hung tough, using his check right hook to every time he tried started getting pressured, but it didn't look good for him in the first round. And I was like, oh, more of this, and this could be the end of Luke Rockhold. Then Luke just took it in and out, and when he was getting pressured, you could see he was getting flustered, but I don't think he'd begun to panic. I just think he was starting to get annoyed by the fact that he himself was allowing Branch into the fight. They went back in between corners, and if I'm honest, I think Branch had gassed himself, let himself just go, and I think the adrenaline dump had gone because he thought he was going to get him in the first. Maybe, so I could be wrong, but it looked like he was throwing everything at him in the first, and when he didn't put him away and he got to come back out with not much left in the gas, I think that's a little difficult. So they come out in the second, and it's more of the same, and to begin, and then all of a sudden Luke just catches him out of nowhere with a couple of good kicks, and it just puts Branch on notice. And then from that point on, it just goes downhill from Branch. Luke starts to find his timing. He gets put into better situations, and eventually they find themselves up against the cage, which is where Branch was doing most of his work in the first round. And Luke just decided to get a body lock on him, slam him to the ground, and basically that's all she wrote. That's at that point, it was game over. Luke went from taking his back to full mount to back to mount again, and then Branch was just doing his best to run the clock down and not get stopped by the ref. It was about 1:10 on the clock when they got into this bad situation, and at that point it was just a little bit too much time left for Branch to survive. I don't think he was ever out. He definitely was taking damage, but I don't think he was ever out. And I think if that position had happened with 20 seconds, 25 seconds left to go in the fight, we probably would have seen a third. But because there was so much time left on the clock, I think the referee was saving him because, as I said, Luke kept taking one dominant position to another, and then he kept hammering him with strikes from the top. And then when he was on his back, he eventually flattened about and just started laying into him. And the call was tap out due to strikes. So I actually didn't see this during the fight, but Branch must have tapped to Luke's strikes. From what I know, Branch is a jiu-jitsu black belt, which means a lot, but it's starting to become more and more obvious that a black belt in MMA means a lot more. Because he knew he was in a bad position, and he knew that he was being controlled, and he knew that he couldn't get out of it, and he also knew that those punches were coming thick and fast towards his head, and that is not a fun place to be. And like I said, I didn't actually see the tap, but that's what the call was. Taps, what does it say here? Luke Rockhold defeats David Branch via submission, tap to strikes, round 2, 4 minutes and 5 seconds. So it's not very often you see any taps to strikes in the UFC. You've got to be putting a beating on somebody for them to want to just give up from your strikes. Usually they just take it, but not that night. Branch had enough, so he was getting himself out of there. So actually, it was I get it wrong. It wasn't the referee that saved him. He tapped himself out. He probably could have hung on for an extra 25 seconds and seen the third, but hey, I'm not in there, I don't do it, and I don't think I'd like someone flattening me out and just pounding on my face. The ref was ready to jump in anyway. He was like right there. It took a second. Fight over. But also, Luke Rockhold now has the most finishes in the middleweight division, including UFC and Strikeforce. He's got 13 of them. 13 finishes. That's nuts. He's got more than Anderson Silva. He's got more than Bisping. He's got more than anybody. He's got the highest finishes in the middleweight division, and he's also got the highest submission finishes in the middleweight division with 8 of them. And so this comes down to a submission. This is another submission victory, even though it was to strikes because he tapped. So crazy. I didn't know that statistic. I didn't know Luke Rockhold was such a finisher. I know he's finished guys, but I just think he's obviously goes under the radar for me. Like, I understand that he's super technical. I understand that he likes to be precise with his kicks, but I never really think of him as one of the world's best, even though he's held the title. I'm not debating this. Like, I know he's held the title. So at one point he was the world's best. He took it from Weidman. I'm not saying he wasn't. I'm just saying I don't view him as that. I feel there's matchups where he could get beat. I think Robert Whittaker beats him. I think Bobby Knuckles. I think I think Whittaker's probably going to be too much for the majority to handle. And I know he's the interim title now, and I know he's heavily injured, but I personally think that he's got a lot of good cardio. He's very resilient, and he puts hands on everybody. He's got such a high strike percentage. His wrestling game, stepping up every single time we see him. And I know Luke Rockhold, after last night's fight, claimed that I am the best grappler in the UFC. I can control any man. Like, maybe if you can get them in that position, but then you have to get them in that position first. And I just think Bobby Knuckles is one hell of a guy that you can't take down. If Yoel Romero couldn't take him down, how does Luke Rockhold plan to take him down? But I'd love to see that fight. I think that's what's next. I think even though Luke says he's getting ready for the November card for when GSP he's telling GSP he should pull out so Luke Rockhold can just take it. Like, you can't lose the title, beat the 9th rank guy, and then just get a title shot again. In some divisions, like the light heavyweight, you probably could because the division's so shallow. But in the middleweight, they're stacked upon stacked. So I think he fights Bobby Knuckles, Robert Whittaker, or I don't know. He's got to fight another contender. Like, I don't think I don't think you can just give him it unless timing works out and nobody else is available. And I personally don't really want to see the Weidman Rockhold fight again. I know Weidman just got a big win after 3 losses in a row, but Luke Rockhold versus Weidman's fun when it's the championship. Luke Rockhold versus Weidman isn't fun when it's just for a #1 contender, because I would like to see that rematch for the belt. And Bisping, I think, let's see how Bisping does against GSP. Luke Rockhold's claiming that Bisping's going to get run over. Luke Rockhold's claiming that GSP is going to get run over by Bisping. Bisping is going to be too big. He's going to outbox him. He's not going to be able to take Bisping down. Like, I think he'll be able to take Bisping down. I definitely do. I do think Bisping is going to be able to get back up, and I do think Bisping is going to put hands on him. I think Bisping's a better boxer, better kickboxer. He's better at stuffing the takedown, that's for sure. Because coming from the same land I do, England, the wrestling's not a big deal where we're from, and he's spent some time on takedown defense. I don't think you're ever going to see Bisping try and submit somebody or take somebody down unless he's really hurt. Bisping stands up, and he may not have the hardest hands in the world, saying that he knocked Luke Rockhold out, but he's not renowned for just knocking people clean out with one shot, but he is known for being a tough son of a bitch. He's there all the way through, always, every minute of the fight, and it doesn't matter what you're doing. That Anderson Silva fight, where Anderson Silva hit him with a flying knee when his mouth guard was out and dropped him, but the fight carried on, and he was all split up, and he just got back up. All right, let's go. Bam, bam, bam. Bisping's got ridiculous cardio. I don't think people never give him enough credit. I know people hate on him because he won the title on a 2 weeks' notice, but he was there. He took the opportunity, and he won. He beat Luke Rockhold, knocked him out, and then they weren't very happy on his first title defense against Dan Henderson because of a 14th ranked guy. I get it. I didn't like that fight either. In fact, I don't think I really watched that. It was on in the background. And Bisping had the little thing with Yoel Romero where we would have liked to see that. I personally wouldn't have. I'd rather see him against Robert Whittaker because they're both going to stand, they're both going to bang. And I'd like to see who's got the most resilience, because I know Bisping can take a punch, and Robert Whittaker can take a punch, and I think that fight's going to come down to who can take the most punches. I don't think it's a case of who throws the most or who does the most damage. I think it's who can take the biggest beating and still push forward. That's who's going to win that fight. But all this talk, like, you don't hear about Bisping matching up with Whittaker. I guess it's because he's injured, but I just mean that's the next fight. Whittaker doesn't just win an interim title to to not fight for the real title. He's got to unify them, you know. So I'm excited. I'd like to see Whittaker as the champ, if I'm honest. I think he's started off crappy, lost a few in a row. I'm surprised he didn't get cut the way the UFC gets rid of people. And then, I guess just change it up. I watched the little, not documentary, that's the wrong word, but like the countdown when he was going to fight Yoel Romero, like all the things that he's done differently and the way he lives his life now. He went from being just a crazy Australian football rugby rules or whatever it's called, just nut job, then slowed himself down, started getting more patient, and then really realizing that he is athletic, he does have the skills, and that belief that he talks about, like, it's contagious. Like, it makes me want to go out and put some gloves on, like, I can become the world champion. I can't. I'm nearly 28. That's over. Maybe it's 10 years ago, but not right now. But yeah, so that's a fight I'd love to see. I'm just checking right now. I think Will Soul might be trying to join us here, so let me get back to you in 2 seconds, and I'll see if I can get him on here. We're back at it. I want to introduce everybody to the Versace Idiot. This is Will Soul joining us via Skype. He's sitting at his kitchen table in beautiful sunny England.
It's actually a dining room table, but bonjour everyone.
So, for those of you that don't know, this is my younger brother. It was actually his birthday the other day, so he's hungover from his party last night.
I don't know. I'm ready to go.
So we were just speaking about the Luke Rockhold and the David Branch fight. Luke Rockhold just taking dominant position and pounding the living hell out of him. So that Branch tapped out to strikes. And I was just saying that you don't very often see anybody tap out to strikes anymore. You must be getting a serious beating if you're willing to give up from punches.
Oh, he must just be a cool fighter.
David Branch isn't that bad of a fighter. He was.
I know, but I've seen all the other fights from wherever else he used to fight, but he should have, like, I don't know, you don't see getting tapping out to, like, punches.
No, he definitely. I think he was. I would have loved to see Branch win.
But you'd think he'd have a bit more in the tank to do a bit more, like, defensively, because it was a second round knockout, wasn't it?
Yeah, I was saying before that I think he was hurting Luke in the first round, and I think he thought that he was going to finish him in the first, and then blew his gas tank. And then when he went back to his stool and he had to get back up for the second, he didn't look like the same fighter. And I think he came back a little bit gassed, and then an adrenaline dump because he didn't get the finish. And then I think for Branch being a Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu black belt, I think Luke just manhandled him, took him to the ground. Branch kept giving him his back, rolling back to mount, giving him his back, rolling back to mount, and then Luke Rockhold just flattened him out and pounded him.
Yeah, when I was saying it didn't look like he had anything in the tank, like to stop what Luke called out of him.
Well, I actually
think if he was a black belt with GGG, he should have done more than that.
Yeah, and I was saying, like, it's all well and good being a Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu black belt, which is super impressive. I'm not knocking that. I will never be one, but I'm just saying there's a difference between Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu and MMA grappling. And Luke Rockhold made the point that he's the best MMA grappler in the game.
Actually, it was quite impressive, Rockhold, because I thought he was going to get hammered because he's had, like, what, 2 years later?
Basically, like 15, 16 months.
It's like, yeah, something like that, a year and a half.
I wanted Branch to whoop his ass.
But I don't like him. I think he's just an arrogant asshole.
And I think that's his problem.
I didn't know much about Branch, granted, but I wanted him to win, and I thought when I watched him, like, coming in last night and the weigh-ins and everything, I thought Branch was, like, a lot bigger than beast compared to him.
Well, because Branch used to fight in something called World Series of Fighting, and he used to be their middleweight and light heavyweight champion, and he defended both of them. He's the only man ever to have won 2 belts and defended them both at the same time. So, I mean, this was his second fight back in the UFC because he used to be in the UFC, and I think it was maybe just a little bit too much, a little bit too quick, you know.
Yeah.
He could.
Fair enough. He stepped into the deep end, coming back, second fight, and fighting like the third contender or something. So.
Who does Luke Rockhold fight next?
Whoever wins out with GSP, Michael Bisping. I think it's going to be Michael Bisping.
I
think after that, whoever wins out, like, say, Bisping or, like, Rockhold, because I really don't think it's going to be GSP. I think he's going to get absolutely raped. If you can say that, I think he's going to get just dragged about. I don't think he can handle shit. Fair enough, he's a good fighter and mixed martial artist, but I think he's in over his head. But I think after that, whoever wins out with Rockhold and Bisping, I think it's got to be Yoel Romero if he's still on the scene.
See, you're forgetting about Robert Whittaker, who's the interim middleweight champion right now, who just beat your Romero. I think he'll be back early next year, and I don't think Luke Rockhold deserves the title shot off this performance.
I definitely don't. If he's had a 2-year layoff, that's not what a champion does. It's exactly what Rousey did.
I think
fair enough. She was kind of like there to get one because she defended that much and she was entitled to it. But I think the like spitting your dummy out being off for this long. I think not.
Well, supposedly Luke Rockhold had.
He was bitching about it for ages. He was bitching about like getting like title shot for ages. And, I mean, if you just went straight back in the game and whatever else, like, because fair enough, he had a little mild injuries and whatever, but.
Yeah, he was getting his knee fixed and getting it scoped a little bit, supposedly.
Yeah. But I don't know. I think he bitched on about it and whatever, and I just don't like him. So I think I'm probably using a bit of a biased kind of way to him. But
well, I think you've got to match him up with Yo Romero next.
That's what I think.
I think Yo Romero, Rockhold, so that the winner of Bisping GSP, Robert Whittaker gets to unify the titles, and I'd like to see Robert Whittaker as the undisputed champion. I really do like Robert Whittaker. Bobby Knuckles, he's a solid fighter, and then Weidman's won one of his last 4, so I can't. He's calling out for the title shot. I don't think you can give it to him either because he's got beat so much recently, and he beat Kelvin Gastelum in his last fight, who's not even a 185er, he's a 170. So. Yeah, but he's not built for 185. He's not as big as them. He's not as strong as them. You know. He's in between. He's in that in between zone. You know. He could be a perfect 175 or 180 pounder. You know. But he's too big for 170, too little for 185. So he hasn't really got a home right now. He needs to fix his diet and get back to 170 and beat Tyron Woodley.
What do you think Uriah Hall's like?
That was insane. Like after getting rocked to bits in the first round. Yeah. I just them uppercuts that he was getting hit with in the first round. I was like, how is he not out? I mean, I thought he was out at one point when he dropped, and when his head bounced off the canvas. Yeah. Well, the canvas walking back up, that happens a lot. Flash knockdowns when you're out, and then the canvas hits you and you wake back up. But I thought, and that was a do or die fight for Uriah Hall. This is his first fight he's won in 2 years. Yeah, he's lost his last 3 in a row.
I can't say I've really heard him. I think I've seen him fight one time.
Well,
that was probably his last fight.
I've followed him for quite a while since he was on The Ultimate Fighter. He was on Chael Sonnen's team, and he had this spinning back heel kick to someone's face, and he knocked them out cold, and the guy was just wheezing on the floor going, like it looked like he killed the guy. It was one of the most vicious knockouts that I've ever seen on The Ultimate Fighter. And then he has a real difficulty with hurting people. Now, he's come out and said this. He goes, I love this sport, but I really have a big difficulty hurting people. He doesn't like to do it, you know? He doesn't like to hit people, doesn't like to hurt people, but he just so happens to be very good at it. And he keeps going up and down. When he wins one, loses one, wins one, loses one. And then he went on a streak of losing 3 in a row. He beat Gegard Mousasi 2 years ago in a fluke, I think. He clipped him, knocked him down, and jumped on him and finished him. But the punch that he connected with was not impressive. Like, it was just Gegard's sloppy mistake. And then he lost 3 in a row, and actually within that 3 in a row he fought Gegard Mousasi again, and Gegard won. Because he was saying, he's like, it was a fluke, it was a punch, anyone can get caught, it wasn't because he's a better fighter, and he proved it. He went back and just dominated Uriah Hall. And the guy who was fighting was ranked higher than him in last night's fight. Uriah Hall went to this fight at 14. The guy who's fighting went in at 10. Yeah, that's why they're on the prelims.
The Mike Perry fight was quite good.
Mike Perry, Jesus. Mike.
He's a different breed.
He's only.
I can't say I've seen a lot of them because we haven't had like BT Sport for a while, so I haven't been keeping up with the UFC as much as I used to. But I can remember I watched his last fight yesterday, and I thought, Jesus Christ, that excites me just to knock out from there.
Well,
I've seen that one.
His last fight, they call that the Hellbow. Yeah, because it just murdered. I think it was Jake Ellenberger who he fought, and it just destroyed him. And last night, that guy he fought on 3 days' notice because his actual opponent dropped out, and that's what he was meant to do. That's what he's meant to do. Plus, the guy he fought was coming up a weight class. The guy he fought is actually a 155er. He just didn't cut weight for this fight. And the other fighter, Alex Reyes, to be fair to him, that's his foot into the UFC. Not a very good way to get into the UFC because you just got murdered by Mike Perry. but he's fighting upper weight class, no training camp. Well, he's training for another fight, they were saying, but at 155, a little bit in the future. And now he's in the UFC, I guess, so he's going to make more money. But that's a rough way to get in the UFC. Mike Perry is a killer. Just.
I mean, he's got like a bit of weight on his back now as well, because obviously he started with the first loss because he went in the team.
Yeah, and I just think Mike.
He's going to come and hit the ground running in his next fight, or his next few at least.
Yeah, well, he'll find himself back on the prelims, working his way up. Like it'd be one. He looks like one of these journeyman fighters. I don't think we're ever going to hear anything of Alex Reyes again. But like not in any big time slots. He'll just be prelims or fight pass or something like that. But Mike Perry, that guy loves to fight. Like I've seen quite a few of his fights now, and from what I can make of it, he just is vicious. Like that's his game. That's his game plan the whole entire time. Come out there and try to kill you. Like, and I believe he's willing to go out on his shield. I think he's just willing to take a punch to give one, and if he gets knocked out or dropped, fair enough. But there's only one person done it so far. He's only got one loss on his record. But he's nasty. Nasty. He's a big boy. He's powerful. And when he connects, well, we saw last night with that knee straight to his dome, he didn't get up after that one.
No. He was pulled out.
And I liked his rooster dance at the end.
I think his hair makes him look like one as well.
Yeah, I'm seriously considering getting that haircut just so I can walk around and say I'm Mike Perry too.
Oh, here we go. It's not Jared Leto to Mike Perry.
That guy's a savage. Like Mike, I think he called out Robbie Lawler at the end of it. I'd love to see that fight, just because Mike Perry's exciting. You know, like.
Yeah, and I think Robbie Lawler would be a good fight because it's just going to be like a slugfest.
Yeah, well, it'll be. I think if he fights Robbie Lawler, it'll be like the Robbie Lawler Cowboy Cerrone fight that we just had, just with more violence. I think Cerrone has moved up from 155 to 170, and he's looking pretty good up there. He went on a win streak, lost a few, won a few. But I think Robbie Lawler is basically the number one contender right now. So match Mike Perry, and Mike Perry jumps through few people when he knocks out Robbie Lawler, and he fights for the title quicker than. But then he also said he'd fight the winner of Damian Maia, Colby Covington. Which how Colby Covington has got that fight is beyond me. He's like ranked 1 millionth in the division, and he's fighting a guy who just came off.
You've got to have Damian Maia to win.
Well, Damian Maia's done exactly the same to everybody but Tyron Woodley. You know, Tyron just stuffed a million takedowns.
I hate watching Tyron Woodley.
See,
I think he's a pussy. And fair enough, he wins his fights, and that's what he's got to do. But I mean, he's got a lot of power in himself.
Well, I'll take what Mike Perry was saying on Ariel Helwani's show the other day, saying people hate Tyron Woodley because he's so smart. Like,
yeah, it is smart. It's like exactly what Floyd Mayweather and Manny Pacquiao.
Yeah.
I hate Mayweather for that.
And
tactically genius.
And everybody hates Mayweather. Everybody tunes into Mayweather's fights to watch him get knocked out. They don't watch him to win, you know.
Yeah, exactly.
And but Tyron Woodley makes the point. He's like, I'm not out here to show the fans what they want to see. I'm out here to keep this belt and to keep getting paid. So yes, Irish fights they're not very entertaining sometimes, but I can respect the man. Plus he's open and honest about it. He's like, basically, fuck you fans, I'm going to keep this belt around my waist, I'm going to keep getting paid the championship money, and I'm going to keep winning. Like, I'll do whatever I need to win. And Damian Maia had he's a one-trick pony. Take him down, strangle you to death. What did Tyron Woodley do? Make sure he didn't get taken down. He just slammed him into the ground every single time.
His defensive was really good in that fight.
It's not exciting. I agree. Same when the second Wonder Boy fight. Not exciting. You know?
Yeah, no, I watched that fight, and I was expecting it to be like, a bit like last time, but it was the very opposite. There was literally like one interesting punch, and I was thrown right at the end.
Well, I don't get how Dana White can talk shit on Tyron Woodley because of his fights not being exciting. Yes, everybody wants to see exciting fights, but for however much hard work it takes to become the champion, it takes tenfold that to stay the champion. And he's doing everything right to keep that belt around his waist. And he's like, I think he's at a point now where he just doesn't care what people think. He's going to keep winning because...
He wouldn't.
Yeah.
Because you're just going to get the championship money, and you're not going to, like, I don't know, why would you want to lose that just for opinions of people?
He's like, oh, I'm...
Up there at the top, you've got your reputation. You can leave a legacy behind, even if he does, like, be the most boring fighter.
Well,
he could break, like, maybe what Demetrius Johnson record was going to be. Like, he could.
The perfect example is George St. Pierre. Everyone's like, oh, he's the greatest welterweight of all time. George St. Pierre's boring. He's got a good jab and a boring style of fight. He'll take you down, lay on top of you, and lay and pray. It's not like he's standing. He never stood up and swung, you know, like he was always taking you down and lying on top of you and not letting you move. I would say Tyron Woodley's a much more exciting fighter than GSP. But look, after a 4-year layoff, everybody's so excited to see GSP because he's one of the greats. Like he is a more boring fighter, or at least he was a more boring fighter than Tyron Woodley. It's the fact that he got matched up more often against exciting fighters. Like GSP got matched up against Nick Diaz. GSP got matched up against Josh Koscheck, against Dan Hardy, you know, about all these fighters who really came out to bang. Like Wonderboy Thompson doesn't come out to bang. He comes out to take you to pieces with his karate. Damian Maia doesn't come out to bang. He comes to take you down and strangle you. So the last interesting fight probably was the Robbie Lawler one, and Tyron put him out in one punch. And prior to that, it was probably the Condit fight. And this shows how much power Tyron Woodley's got. One leg kick to Condit's knee, and Condit's knee exploded. Like,
I get that, but you just want... Fair enough, he is being smart, but like throwing the one power punch or one power kick a fight isn't entertaining. Like, he's got it in his locker. You don't have to take a big risk to throw maybe a few more.
Well, but then
It is like that, seriously.
the opposite argument is Tyron Woodley throws a big overhand right, and it's a loop. It's a looping right, and someone goes straight down the middle with a hard left and knocks him out, and he loses his belt. He goes from making, let's say, $500,000 a fight to $100,000 a fight. Now, that's a big pay cut, and I think, unfortunately, the way that MMA is going now, it's a business less than a sport. You know, there's more people interested in making money than there is. Well, that's the same in any sport. Everybody's only interested in making the money, you know. And I just think that you can't take that risk. You just can't. Like, if you're at the top, it takes one small mistake, and you're not at the top anymore. You know, it's like
but it's not really a mistake. It's kind of doing what you paid to do. And in the same way, right? The last few fights he's had, he hasn't obviously been doing that. But like Wonderboy won, right? So then people's just going to be expecting him to kind of be like the kind of pussy that everyone's kind of saying he is, and not go for these power things. Right now is the best time for his, like, say, his next fight to hit somebody with, like, maybe even just throw 5 in there over like 5 rounds.
Yeah, I think
one power move around. With a kick, you don't have to take much of a risk. And then
but if he's throwing a...
for these fights, you're not going to be expecting him to be throwing this. Like, the last few ways he's fought.
Yeah, but say he's throwing a kick against Damian Maia and he caught the kick and got taken down and strangled. There's a big risk on the kick. That's why a lot of people don't throw him.
Yeah, that's why you wouldn't do a kick against Damian Maia.
I'm just thinking he doesn't care about the opinion of the fans. He doesn't care what we think.
He doesn't. Definitely not.
So he's gonna.
Talking about Tyron Woodley in the hope of him watching us. that would like ever watching us, because obviously it's not going to happen this one, but because he wouldn't give a shit either way. But fair enough. Like, I'd probably do this if I could do and get away with what he's doing.
See, I don't think he's been a pussy. I think he's been a champion.
Because he's a champion, and that's what it is. He's been a champion.
I think you match him against.
The fans what he wants, guaranteed, and maybe that could have a negative effect on him, like in pair kind of ways. He still is the champion.
He's barely getting hit. He's being dominant, and he's got the belt. He's making the money. I think he's doing everything he needs to do to stay the champ, and I think he's just going to continue to do the same. Like, I think he'll get. There's no clear number one contender, because Colby Covington versus Maia. If Maia wins, they're not going to give him the title shot straight away because he just lost. Colby Covington, they probably will have to because they beat Maia. Then you've got Wonderboy fighting Jorge Masvidal. They can't give it to Wonderboy if he wins, because that'll be his 3rd attempt. Nobody wants to see that fight again, I promise you. And but I would like to see I'd like to see Masvidal fight him, but then Masvidal hit a speed bump by taking the Damian Maia fight. You know, he shouldn't have taken the. Well, who might say, if he hadn't have taken the Damian Maia fight and they just give the fight to Damian Maia and he fought the winner of that, that would be an interesting fight, because I think Jorge Masvidal is a good boxer, good wrestler, and I think he would try to stand up with Tyron. I don't think he'd, and he's more of a fighter versus a athlete or a martial artist. I think Jorge Masvidal wouldn't claim to be a martial artist; he would claim to be a fighter.
Yeah. I'll tell you what has been getting me real riled up this week when I've been reading like articles and whatever. It's John Jones. I know that's kind of past the peak now, but the way that I see it, right, if you've been, like, obviously, I think he's just a poor champion. Like, to be fair, he's not a champion, obviously, but he's a poor athlete. He's got no, like, he's not like a good role model. Like, in the way, even if he was trying to come back and he was trying to bullshit everyone saying he was this and that, right? Which he was. He was trying to make out it was an angel coming back this time. And then he said in the same conference, he said, I literally done coke the weekend before fighting you. Like, come on.
Mm-hmm.
Any upcoming fighter can't listen to that.
Yeah.
That. DC is a good champion because he's
All right. Let me just pause it here, and we'll come back to it. I'll be 2 seconds.
Okay.
You don't have to go anywhere. I just got to get him some food.
Okay.
No. What do you want? Yogurt? All right. No, I agree that John Jones was because he's not champion anymore. He's been stripped, and DC's your champion again. That but he's terrible champion. I think you can only do so many things wrong.
Exactly, but if you think he's doing like he's got the caught out for drugs before, you think going into this fight, you make sure you didn't even take 10 supplements. You'd like go and get your own water kind of thing. You kind of wouldn't make the same mistake twice. Because obviously the first time was a thing, and I had like a kind of conscious chance that it wasn't, because at the time I was like so hyped for the fight, and I was like, he doesn't need to kind of change his way into this, right? But what's the point? Like, I don't think it would have made much of a difference, like you said in the last video. I don't think John Jones still would have won. But you can't really say it, and I think it's just pure for even doing it. Like, it's like if you get caught speeding in one place, right? You're not gonna you're gonna go down that place and remember where the speed camera is. You're not gonna do it again.
Yeah.
You're gonna go out of your way not to. It's just it can't happen like this many times. He's done. He won't fight again in the UFC. And if he does, I'm insane to do. We'll see shit.
I agree. Keep talking. I agree. I think that I don't want to see him fight in the UFC again, if I'm honest. And I also feel bad for Cormier. I think Cormier's got an opportunity for legal action as well.
I hope he does take it, because it's just I don't care, but like I see where you come from when you said he cried as well. Like, if you were in the same situation you would have, it's like it's an emotional fight anyways. Mm-hmm. Like, for all the hard work, it's like the last time when he was crying like on fight day because of them pulling out.
I just think it's a.
I used to love John Jones. I used to like everyone else. I just think he's an asshole. I think the one thing I've made is know that he's just like a little bullshit that just trying to like brainwash people. It's just the exact thing I've just said when he said I beat you after a cocaine bender. Like, how does that make you like think? Like, that just makes you look like a bigger asshole than everyone already thought you were.
Yeah, I think there's a lot of things probably in his life that he's not that's not going right. I've been reading a few things afterwards that there's a lot of nervous people around him thinking that this could be the spiral that everybody's been waiting for. You can only make so many mistakes, but people are thinking like in his family life and in his life away from fighting, this might be the part when we look back in 20 years where John Jones becomes a crackhead or becomes really heavily reliant upon drugs, or he's arrested all the time, or this could be the Mike Tyson when Mike Tyson goes to jail sort of situation, you know, like he could, because it's obvious.
When you hit the top too fast when you're young, and that's what happened to John Jones, and it's what happens to a lot of kind of people. We kind of become a bit like a screw missing in the head because we went through that many life stages, or they went through the life stages too fast. And they used to kind of being like kind of untouchable in the same way.
Well, I just think he's a wild man. I think there's a lot of fighters that are wild men, you know, wild women as well in it. And he obviously doesn't have enough good people around him, otherwise he wouldn't keep doing this, you know?
Yeah, definitely.
And
you can't really call it as a mistake or say it was a taint substance or anything like that, because he literally tried to mask it, didn't he, with like a world-renowned masking thing.
Well, and also the point of it would be if John Jones wasn't just murking people, choking them to death, knocking them out, beating them up, like beating them at their own game. Like if he was just an average fighter, wouldn't even be in the UFC. They would have got rid of him a long time ago, you know? Like, this is not somebody they would have entertained if you were just a middle of the road fighter.
It's just the style and how he literally is.
Yeah, because there's no denying his fighting ability. He's so good, you know? He's amazing.
He's
But
a talented person.
but that's as a fighter. As a person, he's an idiot. He's almost as big as idiot as the Versace idiot spending all of his birthday money on a stupid jumper.
It wasn't any birthday money, it was hard-earned money. Didn't get any birthday money, so suck dick. Another point that I think I'd like to cover is she said this is all about combat sports. GGG, Canelo. You can't really go into this and not talk about that.
I was going to mention it right at the end because I watched and
I didn't watch it because I hate boxing. I'm not gonna lie to anyone. I have to test it. I think it's boring.
the fact that it came out as a draw is annoying because it blatantly wasn't.
So GGG's output was a lot more than Canelo's. Didn't watch it, but I know that.
It just shows the crooked judges in Nevada.
In general, isn't it?
Yeah, it was a good fight. There was some good moments in it. There was some good moments. The fight itself, the fight itself was fine. You know, like I'm not complaining about the fight. I'm complaining about the way it ended. They probably did it on purpose just to have a rematch to make more money. You know, they probably paid the judges. How can you score? I just don't understand the scoring of it. And I was going to talk about it at the end, but it was. We'll get to it now. I just think it'd be short and sweet here. I was very excited because it is two of the best boxers ever. If maybe people want to argue ever, I really think so. I think Triple G and Triple G is a beast, and Canelo is just so good. And I think it was a hell of a fight, actual legitimate high stakes boxing match rather than the Mayweather Conor. For as much as I enjoyed Mayweather Conor, it was a joke. Like they shouldn't have been fighting in the first place. But this was a real.
It was an entertaining fight.
This was for the first 2 rounds and the last 2 rounds were entertaining. In the middle, no. But this fight had some good moments all the way throughout, and then it's just the crooked judges at the end, and it's obviously being wrangled for the rematch. And if I'm honest, the more time I spend watching MMA, the less and less I appreciate boxing. I enjoy doing it personally just because it's a lot of fun, but.
Maybe you used to seeing people throw spinning back kicks and stuff like that.
Yeah, I just think MMA is more exciting. You know, it's more exciting,
It
more options,
one-dimensional. Exactly.
and
It's not one-dimensional.
and Joe Rogan describes it best like the.
Bigger risks. It's a proper fight as well. It's not like.
Well, if you're a boxer, you're a specialist. You know how to win using 2 hands. You know, so you're a specialist. You're a better boxer than any MMA fighter. You know, but it doesn't mean you're a better fighter. It just means you're a better boxer.
Exactly, like it is like it's like that. But say I'm not getting into that because everyone knows what I'd just be about. Say like MMA wise, gets in a fight with a boxer in the street, and you think somebody that knows jiu-jitsu and a bit of like boxing, maybe basics. I think you've got the MMA fighter all day, like to win.
Well, it depends on levels. If you've got a really competent boxer and someone who's done one MMA class, you're still going to die. But if you've got even training. Oh, but yeah, I agree. And if you're equally trained in MMA and in boxing, you're going to get your ass whooped if you're a boxer. What's up, dude?
Well, ladies and gentlemen, next thing with David Hay and Jimmy Manuel.
It's not going to happen.
I think it probably would. I think it's something for like to just copying the idea of MMA meets boxing, and it's just because Hay wants to look good, because he should win. He's got to win an MMA fight. Then it's just like a bump version of Conor.
I'm totally uninterested by it. David Hayes past his prime.
He just fights bums, and I just hate him as a person.
I don't care about him as a person. I don't care about any of these people as a person. It's just David Hayes past his prime. So I'm not excited to watch David Hayes. He's just trying to make money. And Jimmy Manuwa just got knocked out in the first round against Ozdemir. So it's not.
He's not going to have a chin to last in a boxing match, especially with a heavyweight like David Hay. Jimmy Manuwa wouldn't stand a chance.
Well, the weight class.
Publicity stunt to make Hay look better.
The weight classes are different in boxing and MMA as well. So they'll find a suitable weight class, I'd imagine. And Manuwa cuts a hell of a lot of weight to make 205. So I'm not worried about him in the weight class. But what I'm trying to say is, who wants to see that fight? Nobody wants.
No. It's just be like a David Hay publicity thing. That's what it is. It's just a fraud.
Now, I just think David here, when I was 18, was entertaining when he was the champ, knocking out 7-foot giants and stuff. But and Manoa, even though he's from England, never interesting. Like he says one shot, one kill or something like that. That was his little slogan or something. Like he hasn't beat anybody impressive. Every time he gets. Every time he gets matched up against someone who's the elite in he gets ended. Like Ozdemir is on like a 3-fight win, 3 fights, all right? And because the light heavyweight division is so shallow, he gets matched up against Manoa, who's like ranked number 4 or something. And that's where Manoa will stay. Manoa will stay number 4 because he'll never break into it. He's not going to fight Alexander Gustafsson again because they're friends now. And he already got beat off him. He fought Rumble Johnson, got flatlined. He fought Ozdemir, got flatlined. Like, if he fought DC would take him down and pound the hell out of him. That's not going to be exciting, you know. And if he'd have fought John Jones, that would have been game over, you know. Like, he beats a lot of people in the light heavyweight division, but he's not a fighter I ever get excited for. Oh, Manoa's on the card. Who cares? David Hayes fighting. Who cares? Like they're just not at that level, you know.
I watched the Bellew and Hale one just because I wanted the end of the game.
I don't care enough for either of those fighters to want to watch it. That's a personal opinion, but I think there's a lot of people that would also agree. Like they're just not at the top of their games. Whereas Conor's at the top of his game. He's a champion. Mayweather is the greatest champion. Yeah, you weren't going to get Anthony Pettis fighting Mayweather. Anthony Pettis, the former champion, or Eddie Alvarez. These things only work if it's a spectacle, if it's worth seeing. Like, if I'd watch a Stipe Miocic versus Anthony Joshua fight.
Yeah, I would. When they said about that on the card, I was happy fingers crossed for it. I think it would have been I think it should have had a bigger undercard, to be fair. But no other promotion, didn't it? So. Well,
it did, but they weren't bothered. They weren't interested in more MMA boxing crossovers. All right, I'm gonna.
Talk about Conor McGregor a bit.
Yeah, go ahead.
Well, just because I think it appeals to like the kind of half-time MMA fans. What do you think's next for Conor McGregor?
I think he gets his ass whooped. I think it doesn't matter who he comes back to in the UFC right now. I think he gets beat. It doesn't matter. There's not a single option that he's.
What would you like to see? I think Nate Diaz 3 for the title. I think it'd have a bigger gate because it's a title fight.
Bored.
Because everyone needs to see it.
Bored of it.
Yeah, but I'd love to see that because 155 is going to be a different fight completely. I think.
Bored. I think Nate Diaz is basically 2-0 in my opinion. Here's the thing.
No. That's where we disagree again. I think we've agreed on quite a few things today, which is not normal. But I think it's not 2-0. I think fair enough, a very tight fight. Probably should have been a draw.
Well, here's the thing.
But I think McGregor 3-2 to me.
Here's the thing. Diaz finished him in the first. McGregor won on the cards in the second. There's a big difference. So, and he barely won on the. It doesn't.
To come back in and do that well in the second performance.
And this is where people get it. And this is where people get it twisted. Nate Diaz isn't a 170 either. He's a 155er. They're both the same weight.
Yeah, definitely. But no, because Nate Diaz has had more fights at 170. It's a bigger thing for Conor when he wasn't 155 at the time. Fair enough, he fought there before. What was the other thing?
No, Cage Warriors. McGregor's a 155er. McGregor's a 155er who cut to 145. So people get it twisted when they say he's a 145er fighting at 170. No.
Yeah, granted he's a 155er, but he used to fight at 145 for like 2 years.
Yeah.
All of his UFC fights were 145.
There's a lot going on in the background here.
I can tell.
But yeah, uninterested. If I'm honest, there's not really much Conor McGregor. Everybody's going to watch Conor McGregor. I'm over it. I'm not on the hype train anymore. Like he's.
I think he should go into boxing for one fight.
Who's he going to fight? Not interested. Paulie's retired and he's sloppy. He's a. No, he wouldn't. Paulie would still win in a boxing match. Paulie would still win. Tell me how McGregor. You've just seen McGregor box.
Yeah, and he did well.
Have you ever seen Paulie?
Paulie is not on the level of Floyd Mayweather.
No, he's definitely not. But he's.
Videos, right? I know, fair enough. Paulie's unfit and it was made to look
Well, I can't. I
In a
can't.
few seconds, you'd never seen Floyd Mayweather in that fight get like mashed about like he did.
Floyd led him. Like this is a big difference. Floyd. This is how confident Floyd Mayweather was about stopping him. Floyd Mayweather went and bet that he was going to finish him in the 10th round. So that's why he carried him to the 10th round and finished him, because he put I think he put over $80,000 on himself to beat Conor McGregor in the 10th round.
I didn't really put it
Yeah.
10th. I just know he was going to put a bet on.
No, he put it on the 10th. He called the fight. It's what Ali used to do. Say, make sure if you're a better man, put your money on the 4th. He's going down. You know, like Mayweather said he was was so confident that he put 80 grand on himself at whatever odds to finish McGregor in the 10th. He allowed him to get to the 10th. He allowed him to get off in the first 3 rounds. He carried him over the 4th to the 6th round. 7th, he decided to turn it on. 8th, 9th, and 10th was just a mess for McGregor, and he got stopped. Like, there's a big difference. I'm not saying in MMA, McGregor would mess him up in MMA, but even in boxing, Paulie's been inactive for like 6 months. He was obviously 10 pounds plus heavier than he usually fights at when he was sparring. He was not brought in to spar 12 rounds in a row. In a boxing camp, you spar 4 in a row. So McGregor set him up to make himself look better, and even then we saw 20 seconds of edited footage to just show McGregor's highlights. Like, I'm not that easy to swindle.
It's got a bit of beef though, and that's why the money's going to be better.
Yeah, if they're gonna make money, that's where they go. But me personally, I don't care.
If we want money, I think if we want entertainment, or I'd say Diaz or whoever wins out, Tony Ferguson and Kevin Lee.
As the sports purist, he's got to fight. He's got to fight the winner of Kevin Lee and Tony Ferguson.
But I think if he's going for money, he's got to go all.
I think we'll see Conor McGregor fight on the end of the year card, and I think because they're fighting Ferguson versus Lee next month. Like, I don't know if the depend on the damage that's in that. Depends on the turnaround. We'll see how quickly that gets in. But my honest opinion is I'm over it. I don't care. I'd rather watch the Eddie Alvarez Justin Gaethje fight coming up than any Conor McGregor. I think the fact that Diaz stopped McGregor in the first fight and it went all the way to a decision in which Nate Diaz did just fine. It's not like Conor McGregor outclassed him or anything. Conor McGregor won on the.
It shows how smart he was to come back with that, like, kind of big of a difference. It's like he had the kind of thing to come back into it. He didn't just run away because he was at the top and his obviously decimated.
Yeah, I'm not saying I don't respect him for taking the rematch. He just also didn't beat him. There's a difference between winning on the judges' cards and beating somebody. He didn't beat him.
Yeah, that's why it could have been argued a draw. It was a tight fight.
Oh, it could have been argued that Diaz won. So, but let's just go. It is. It's currently 1-1. It's currently 1-1. They're gonna have to.
It's 1-1. Right? Are we finishing up now, or?
Yeah.
I've got one last thing. I kind of think I should ask you. What is a few pleasantly surprising fights that you've watched?
What, last night?
No, like in general. Like 2 fights where you've watched, have no expectation for them, and then you've watched them, and then you thought, oh, that was an awesome fight.
Ozdemir versus Manoa was a good one. I wasn't expecting Ozdemir to put him out in the first round. I thought Manoa had the edge everywhere on him, and Ozdemir called it before the fight. I'm gonna knock him out in the first round. Walked in, clipped him with a short left, took him to the ground, and pounded the hell out of him. That was surprising. That was nice. I had no expectations from Ozdemir. I didn't even know who he was, if I'm honest. I watched his last fight against, I think, Shirkanov before that, who he put out. I might be wrong with that, but they were both... no, he wasn't Shirkanov. Anyway, his fight before that, they were both pretty much unknown. He flatlined that guy, too. And
I think that was, like, kind of me. I'd never heard of, like, obviously David Taylor or Orlando Veneta before, but that fight, I think, was amazing.
Yeah.
An entertainment fight. It's like Angela Hill and Jessica Andrade. Really like that fight. I think... Obviously, Angela Hill had like other things from elsewhere, but she never fought in the UFC. No, so I've seen Jessica Andrade fight before. It's going to be like a bit of a white one.
No, Angela Hill was in the UFC and she got cut.
Did she?
Yeah, and then now she came back in.
I just never heard of it. That's what I think made it like that good, because I just seen it and I think Jessica Andrade, I think, was number 2 contender at the time after Carolina, and I was like, what a fight.
That was a very, very fun fight. And in her previous promotion, Invicta, Angela Hill used to come to the weigh-ins dressed up as Street Fighter characters or like something in pop culture. Like she came dressed up as like a Pikachu one day and stuff like that. And
she wore an eye patch for that Andrade.
Yeah. And Jessica Andrade is a beast. She's a bulldozer in a women's 115 pound. She's a bulldozer, but
she couldn't wait to be in there, didn't she?
Yeah, I'm grateful they bring the 125.
Because I remember, I think I watched her fight to on Calderwood.
Yeah.
And she absolutely decimated her.
Well,
and you can see just by the build and how lean she was going into it that.
Well, Calderwood.
I never really watched any of them, but I think I knew what was going to happen before I even watched that fight.
Well, Calderwood's a big girl to be cutting a 115, so I'm grateful that for a lot of these fighters, they're bringing in the 125 division for the women. That's nice to see. I know they've got the Paige Van Zandt versus Jessica Ai next month at 125, so that should be fun. She'll get smoked. She'll get destroyed. She's not a very good fighter.
Yeah, but she's entertaining to watch.
Because you're a pervert.
No. Did you see? Not the last fight. Was the last fight against Rose?
No, our last fight was against the Karate Hottie. Hey, dude.
Yeah, well, she knocked her out with it. What am I thinking about? 2 fights ago. But she did that kind of flying, kind of scissor kick.
That was a fight beforehand that she won.
She come back from that dancing thing that she did.
Yeah. Her last fight, she got murked.
Good kick. It was boring at first, but then it was funny because, a coach has said in the whole of the round before she knocked her out, he said just keep the leg kicks simple and stuff. Don't try anything fancy or with any finesse. And then she came out with that, and I was like, bam.
Yeah. Well, she's changed camps and everything since then. She's up in Portland now. She's in the same gym as Chael Sonnen, and she lives there now. So she's not a Team Alpha Male member anymore. So she got different coaches. So it'll be interesting to see her new style. But I'm gonna call it there. Gonna go get some food and breakfast. It's just about 8 a.m. here in America. It's probably just 4 o'clock there in England, is it?
Yeah, something like that.
All right. So that's the end of episode 2. Thanks for joining us, Will. We'll get a better timing down on this, so I won't start without you next time. But yeah, these videos will be coming up on a weekly basis. During the week, we'll be talking about what's happening in the world of MMA, our predictions for the up-and-coming fight card, if there is one, and then we'll catch up again on Sundays to talk about what we just watched. Just to recap, Rockhold smash branch, and Mike Perry is a destroyer. All right.
And Anthony Smith is still king.
Yeah.
Right. Well, nice talking to you. See you Wednesday.
All right, see you next week, mate, and make sure everybody hits that subscribe button to listen to the ramblings on of Mia and Will. I can tell you where he lives if anyone wants to beat his ass.
All right, see you later.
All right, bye.